This is Colt from Spit and Tax Upholstery again. Remember, we cut out our panels. Now we're sewing them together. We have serged the entire perimeter. And this is the top. Underneath, you'll see our pocket for our telescope. Okay, on both sides. This one is right on the margin where we're going to sew, the sew allowance. This one here, I brought back a little heavy so you can fold it in on itself to where it's stuck in that pocket. But it can't be just like this. You have to have one offset to where it can get in there. And that disc, okay, that telescopic disc, it pops, makes the rain run off. So that's that. I matched those up, marked them, and sewed both of my pockets. You see my pockets where that disc goes in there, that telescopic disc that comes up underneath for rain and tautness of your tarp. I've made the entire perimeter about, I would say a ½ inch bigger. This top is about a ½ inch bigger. When you're doing, I see I'm eating a piece of candy, but when you're doing, when you're working with new stuff, okay, the new stuff is tighter. This stuff, you want to go a little big, okay? Just under a ½ inch, all the way around. It's not going to be a big deal, but it's going to save your bacon, okay? To where you don't come up too short on the ends to where you want to put a snap. A little bit bigger with brand new material opposed to the old, okay? And then we put it on the boat and had a good sag. That's good. So we have the room. So make things just a little bit bigger, especially this goes over the window of the boat, right in front that surrounds. And I showed you the boat in another video. So this is the finished product on our left side, okay? And you see our top stitch there? You fold your two pieces together, sew them, okay? Open it back up, roll your seam under. Now when it comes around the boat, always make your seams fold out. Good rule of thumb to get into. You see that? The seam is facing down. So this is the edge of the boat window. And passenger seat sitting here, okay, like that. You want your seam facing down. Okay, because that's how you do it. You don't want it facing up. And don't mismatch them. Make sure that you do them both identical. That's why when you put this together, don't just do one. Do both pieces, lay them flat, make sure that you're correct on both sides like we're doing over here, okay? Your seam goes down. And that's about it. So you got your pocket for your telescopic tarp raiser. And we've done one side. This is our left side, standing at the stern of the boat. Stage left, stage right. And now we're doing stage right. This two piece right here. And what we'll do is, once we do that one, we'll sew this to this and that to that. And at the end, we'll fold them in on themselves and we'll run it. Roll that one up, bring that underneath the sewing machine and top stitch it just like this. So this front whole piece, when it goes on, it will top stitch like this right here. This will all be a top stitch, so on and so forth. And on our bottom here, we've done the same thing. I've already installed seatbelt strap on the inside of this. So when I punch my holes, you can see my designated holes here. That's where my anchors go, my bungee anchors that hook to the stern of the boat. So this is Rockstar reinforced. It'll never tear. The bungee will fail before the actual tarp will. So be mindful of how you lay everything out. Keep your shop clean. Make sure your tools are where they're supposed to be. I got a little fire going, a little ambiance. Do whatever you have to do. But create a clean workspace. You're not tripping over nothing. You have everything laid out. Think through it. And right when you're about ready to do it, think through it again. Stop and go back. Okay. Be mindful of your top stitches, how they face. These face away to the stern of the boat, not towards the bow. Okay? So anyway, we have our telescopic pockets done. Those are done. And how you know, underneath they're top stitched. I think I showed you that in the last video. So it's a good clean pocket. They were serged and top stitched and then sewn from underneath. So that's how you do that correctly. Everything's nice and neat and tidy, and it's folded in on itself, and it's serged all the way around the perimeter, just like this. Good habit to get into. If you have a hot knife and you're cutting out your fabric and you have the convenience of a big table, you can avoid having to serge everything. I recommend serging it anyway. And then we're going to go over the top of all this once it's done, like this. This piece is actually done right here. I'll go back with some tear mender and I'll coat this to keep my serge from fraying ever. Just another service that you provide your customer, and it's correct. Do it right once, or don't do it at all. You know, find something else to do. People count on you. This is a big deal. That's a beautiful boat. Boats ain't cheap last time I checked. So give them your all. Give them all your love. You know, like you're doing it for grandma. So, this is our, from the stern, this is left, and that's right. So I'm going to show you how to do this. I know I'm talking a lot, but if you're doing a boat top, this is a big deal, and this is expensive stuff. So, and then another good habit to get into is always check your bobbin, okay? Always check your bobbin. I already know there's enough in there, but always check your bobbin. We'll have to wind some more thread here in a minute, but we have enough right now. So, you line up your pieces accordingly, okay? Bring it right down, right there, okay? You want to come right up to the top of that, okay? Right where the crest is, right where the curve is. You line those up perfect, okay? So I know where I'm at here. Kind of split the difference. And what I'll do is I'll start there. Sink your needle, okay? Forward, back tack, and then back tack again. Plant your needle at a 1/2 inch, okay? See, that serge lines line up. Well, in between those, that's a 1/2 inch. I can eye it myself, but just line up your edges. So you need that at a solid 1/2 inch. So when you fold it in on itself, you can do your top stitch like we did on that one over there, and then like we will do up there, so on and so forth. True 1/2 inch. It's better to have a fat 1/2 inch than a short 1/2 inch. Okay, and you see how like if you come down here, see that 1/2 inch? That 1/2 inch is going to come right down here, right to about there. Then cover that whole piece up. So don't be confused by the edges. That happens to a lot of people. You just do, so a true 1/2 inch, and you know where it stops. Come down there, back tack. Knee foot, lift and pull. Pull again, just for good measure. And trim your thread. Come back down here. Okay. Set your needle on the downstroke. Okay, so now, when we fold it out, you can see, okay? Now, always check. I know what I'm doing, but this is an instructional video, so I'm going to show you how to always remind yourself. Double check if you have to. I'll come up here, okay? This is, if I'm in the stern of the boat, this is stage right. This is stage left. I just did stage left. Now look at my seam, like down here. You take your fingernail, that'll catch your edge, okay? It's folded towards the front of the boat. So this one here, what do? Same thing. Your inseam, your 1/2 inch sew allowance, folds under and towards the front of the boat. Okay, now see that? The hem, they're both facing down. Take your time and do comparisons, left and right. Upholstery is left and right, left and right. There's a left side to a chair, there's a right side to a chair. There's a left side to a boat top, there's a right side to a boat top. Refer to it as you wish, but, you know, use the terminologies that work for you best. So, we know that our hem faces down. We've already set our stitch count. I like it. I have it set at a 5.8. So just make sure it's folded forward like that. Drop your needle forward. Back tack. You stay, I don't know, 3/8 of an inch from, and your foot will oftentimes give you the gauge you need, okay? Just make sure that your sew allowance is folded under the correct way. And be consistent. These are aesthetics, but they are, they're crucial to the strength of the top as well. So, always be mindful when you're sewing. Plant your needle before you ever let go of anything. Okay? Fold that in on itself. Just be mindful when you're sewing. See how flat and you know, fluid all this is? So you don't get a wiggle in your top stitch. They're not paying for wiggles. They're paying for perfection. All the way. Back tack. Always back tack at least, you know, 3/8 of an inch. Give your string a tug, bring it down, bam. So there we go. Same thing, pull your thread always, even though you did back tack. Leave your needle on the downstroke, put your thread behind you, manuals, and you see that perfect top stitch. So let's go over here again and compare to make sure that they both match. Lo and behold, they both fold towards the back of your boat. Okay, so these two are ready to sew onto our main panels, okay? And you want to do it this way. So your main push, it's just one long push, okay? You might get lucky on a smaller boat and get one. You won't have a middle seam. I've done it before. But in this case, in most cases, sometimes there's two seams. You get these big cruisers. It takes a while to span the, you know, the width of that boat. So we're good. Always stop and double check. You got your pockets. You're happy with those. That'll clean up. I'll use my air hose and blow that clean. And so this is the top of your boat top, okay? This is our right, that's our left. Okay, so this one goes here, that one goes there. So, you know, be mindful. See that? That's a boat top right there. So, we'll start here and we'll sew around and then we'll top stitch it just like we did where we brought these two pieces together. Okay? And when we top stitch this, see how the edge roll goes down? The edge roll will go down. You don't want them coming up. It's a top. Rain comes from the sky and sloughs off. So you want this always facing the water, okay, the bottom edge. Little rule of thumb, always remember if you get confused, your top stitch, you can fold it to the left or you can fold it to the right. It depends on which way, it's going down towards the water. So that's what that means. That means down towards the water. You don't want it like this. You don't want it up. You want it always facing down. Okay? Just a rule of thumb. And it looks correct anyway, and it is correct as far as, the weather is concerned. It's a top. That's what we're doing. It's a top. Coverage. Okay, where am I at? We'll start with this one. As good as any. And so we have this staged. We'll roll this up to stay out of our way, one at a time. Okay. Set that over here. And so now, let's see. We're going to start with the top. Okay? So you can, try to, like that. See how I'm laying this in on itself? I'm rolling this up. Try to diminish your signature, if you will, meaning, the amount of salvage, the amount of material that you're wielding. Okay? So that gives us, so your tables, you always want them clean, and especially after you paint them, get up there and start and silicone that whole thing. Then your stuff just slides. It's effortless and it's clean. Everything has to be clean. Okay, so this is our front left. Standing at the stern, looking towards the front. We're doing the left. We're doing the very front of the left that goes over the windshield. Okay? So, bada boom, bada boom, bada boom. So, when you sew two pieces of fabric together, rule of thumb is always good side to good side. Okay? Good side to good side. And then and you sew them on a 1/2 inch sew allowance religiously, always. Never change it. Do not deviate. When you fold it out, then you pull the sew allowance under, so you have this edge facing down, always down. If it was facing up, rain could gather. If it happened to freeze, expansion, contraction, you want that sew allowance, that top stitch, this is called a top stitch, facing down on a boat, always. Okay, so we know this is the inside, this is the top. So we fold good side to good side. Okay, like that. So, you always start on the top, good side to good side. Then you'll flip your material. Okay? And then you don't have to worry about it. You know what you're doing. So you're starting in the middle. I'm a driver. Right, that seam goes right down the middle between me and my passenger. And that's what this is. That's what we're doing right now. You line those up at a religious 1/2 inch. You come in, you plant your needle at a 1/2 inch. I can see that. Here's a gauge that you can use. Okay, see that? 1 inch, 2 inch, 3 inches. I have that set at 1/2 inch. Let's see if my eye is correct. Exactly 1/2 inch. Yeah, I did this a couple times, huh? So eventually you'll just know. You'll know. You'll know a 1/2 inch. Religiously practice that. Practice that. Do not deviate. And when your field is, okay, you cut your patterns true, so you shouldn't have too much difficulty lining things up. But a good rule of thumb is this. You make sure everything's laying flat underneath the two pieces that you are merging together, okay? And then you line up your sew allowance, okay? Plant your needle and pull it. Pull it back a foot or so. And look at what you got, okay? Look at what you got. We're good. And that'll line up perfect. And it could be deceiving. at times. Just make sure that both of your serges all line up, and then you can't go wrong. Okay, see that? And then forward. So in this instance, you see where the serge is? And my presser foot lines right up there. That's a true 1/2 inch. Make sure that the outside edges line up, and you can't go wrong. Now, you see that? You see that? Perfect 1/2 inch. Do it that way. Do not deviate. And you will be successful. That's why when you're cutting your patterns, it's important. Do it right once. Do it right the first time. Adjust. Always look underneath. Gather your fabric accordingly. Everything lays flat. It's like a kung fu dance. Okay? Everything lays flat. So, we are marching on. You want no wrinkles. Don't be deceived if it doesn't look like it's lining up or it's crooked, because it is not. If you cut it correctly, it is fine. You're at a 1/2 inch. Your presser foot is on the edge of that serge that you previously did. You're fine. You're fine. Just go slow. And be mindful. Line up those serges. 1/2 inch. Presser foot on the edge of the top serge. Always be mindful. Don't let nothing gather on you. Always stop and readjust on occasion. And when you do so, always make sure that you plant your foot like that, okay? Plant your needle where it doesn't come off or deviate. Or tax your string, okay? So now, let's continue on. So you see how these merge off, okay? See how this goes to the right, that goes to the left? They're gonna meet in the middle. You just adjust your top as you go. Plant your hand. And you see how this one, you'll see as the machine goes, you just line it up. You see that sliver right there? You just keep lining it up. This is a good stratagem right here. Do not exceed that 1/2 inch, but line those two up. This is where you become a good sewer. This is a good practice. Okay, go slow and I slowly edge into this corner. You see how I'm doing that? I'm keeping a true 1/2 inch sew allowance. I'm using the edge of my presser foot and the serge line that I previously did to stay on track. And with my left hand, I just guide it, okay? So it's a ballet. And if you ever stop and you want to look and see how you're doing, plant your needle, okay? You know, go 10 inches and stop and readjust and look. Okay, everything's flat. And don't pull, let the machine pull it. And you can kind of push it just a little bit. But you make sure that these two serges, this and this, line up. You've already made a perfect pattern, so trust your work. Trust your work. You've already mocked it up. All right. And you can do different hash marks and witness marks too. You could dry run this. And then when you come around here, there would be a witness mark here. But from what I can tell, look at that. Yeah, I did this a couple times. Okay, so that will be another lesson. I'll show you proper witness marks. And when you do a witness marks, you want a punch, a fabric punch, okay? A small hole, just a little bit bigger than a pencil lead. And what did I say a sew allowance is? 1/2 inch, okay? 2 pieces of fabric merge and is sewn at 1/2 of an inch. Well, within that 1/2 of an inch boundary is where you snap a hole, okay? Like, let's say this sew allowance meets and I had another sew allowance that I wanted to meet there, I would punch a hole right there, okay? That's old Betsy. That's my compressor. She's a gem. Okay, so like I said, always plant your needle. When you get to moving your stuff around, always plant your needle. So I'll show you a perfect example real quick. Okay, so this is another witness mark, okay? See how that comes down there? See that sew allowance? I'll come within my sew allowance. That's a witness mark. You see that? See that hole? See how that lines up right there with this sew allowance? Witness marks are your friends. Yes, as my professor always told us, witness marks are your friends. So, and everything lines up. You can, that will be another lesson that's crucial to what we do in the upholstery industry. So that's a witness mark, and witness marks are your friends. And as you watch. See how I'm coming along? Okay. Now, where these two pieces of fabric meet, I'll line up. Don't panic. Look, that's a little, that looks fat. So what I'll do is I'll just slowly line that up. Don't panic. You're good. And then right, true. My presser foot is back on the edge of that surge. And off you go. And let me go forward a little bit here. Plant your needle, always plant your needle. Now I'll bring this back. You see that? You see that transition, nice and smooth. Don't panic when you got a little dog ear there. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. You run across, you know, when there's merging patterns, we'll have one right on the bow as well. So right now your main focus is lining up these surges, okay? And your eye will tell you. That's why gather your fabric and fold it in on itself. Look underneath of you. What do I have left? Is my patterns laying flat? Don't fight it. You don't have to fight it. Adjust it. That's why you want these fields, these big tables, okay? And oftentimes I'll have one right behind me. You know, I might sit on my my harness chair, you know, and because it's a lower profile, it doesn't have this, and I can scooch a table right up to my butt, and I can just swivel around, and all of this is behind me, so I can have fabric laying. So your main goal always is to make sure that both of your sew allowances are lining up. You're not gathering over here. There's nothing under your feet to where when you're sewing, all of a sudden something will bind and it'll pull you off your margin, and you will therefore then be failing at what you're doing. And with this, you want one shot, one kill. Sew it once. There's no reason to make a mistake. Take your time. Be mindful of what you're doing. There you go. Yep, and there we go. Look at that. Just like we knew what we was doing. But, you know, most all these boats it's pretty straightforward patterns. Just make sure to before you start, be mindful of how the boat top set on the boat. Put it on the boat and look at it. How much sag is in the middle? How much wiggle room do you have? How much is on the front? Just because it sags in the middle don't mean the front is gonna, you have just as much forgiveness in the front. That's incorrect. That's a common mistake that people make. Because your windows, your windshields, which this is, right here, what I'm sewing right now is the edge of the windshield. They don't deviate. They are what they are. So you have to accommodate that measurement. You 3/8 of an inch in most cases. These old tarps. Give yourself 3/8 of an inch. Okay, and you see how that little dog ear comes around there? You see that? All you do is you just adjust as you go. But line up your surge. Keep your surge correct. Just go slow. See that? Go slow. Make it lay flat. Make it lay flat. Just take your time and you'll walk through a dog ear like that real easy. Okay? And then you see that, you know you've done it right when you see this. You see the tip of that? You see how that lines up with the edge of that? That's correct. Now watch, it comes right up and you hit that point. Back tack, 1/2 inch. Lift your foot. Give it a little tug. Trim off your thread. Put your needle on the downstroke. Drop your presser foot. You see that? Doesn't get any better than that. What's that? 1/16 of an inch? You know. That's how it's done. So now, see these tables? Always paint your tables. Keep them clean and silicone them to where, see that? You want that, that's what you're looking for. Always. So let's look what we got. Fold it over. And there's our good side. This is what we just did, okay? So what this is, we're gonna top stitch it next, but I just wanted to show you what this is. This is the edge of the window. This is the passenger seat window. Okay? Right there. You see how those merge neatly? Now notice. Okay? Your top stitch is facing down. It's not this seam isn't facing up to catch water and freeze and ruin your product. Everything sloughs off. That's the whole concept of a tarp. And now here, if you look under here, you see that sew allowance? We gave ourselves that 1/2 inch true sew allowance. Now I fold this over. See how that faces down? I got the sew allowance in my hands. Now watch. I'll push it away from me. Look at that. Now I'll top stitch right down there and they all face down. Always down. Always down, never up. Ever, 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 ever up. Always down. Always remember. Top stitches go down. You're down with top stitches. Okay? So that's the thing. I'm down with top stitches. And you'll never forget, they always go down on boat tops. So this is the end of this particular video. I'm going to duplicate this. I just wanted to show you how that's done. And this is the only way it's done, ever. And peace be with you. And I'll see you around like a donut.